All right, so we are back, and it's about 12 a.m. right now, East Coast time, but I still had to get this video done because breaking / alleged news in the influencer boxing scene, the biggest news that you could possibly imagine for influencer boxing right now, KSI is allegedly, potentially, probably pulling out of the 2-on-1 match. What just happened? The breakdown, let's go. All right, so it's been a very odd situation. I'll say that so far with this whole 2v1 tag team match between KSI versus Anthony Taylor and Slim. I didn't like it. You all didn't like it. It's a gimmick. It's weird. It just doesn't seem fitting for your #1 biggest star to be pulling WWE style tag team switcheroo doopsie-doo matches in your main event. And I've said as much for however long since this announcement's been public. But today, or maybe yesterday, I don't remember now, the timeline's all jacked up. Shout out to Marvel Movies, by the way. Misfits has, and I think KSI has, deleted all mentions, all graphics, all pictures of the 2-on-1 matchup, and as those things were deleted, rumors started to fly like those little buzzing bugs in your eardrums. But Anthony Taylor, one of the two potential opponents for KSI in the tag team handicap flippy flap slapjack match, came out and said, listen, none of this is true. KSI's just upset with the zone. He's throwing a bitch fit or a fit bit. I don't know the terminology, but those things were said, and it seemed like Anthony Taylor had the answer. Shut it down, cold water on top of your head, decided, no, this fight is not dead. It's very much alive. And then, all of a sudden, even after he responded to me and many others on the Twitterverse, formerly known, I guess, as Twitter, now known as X, like most of the girls I date, it all of a sudden became deleted tweet after deleted tweet from Anthony Taylor, which all of a sudden gave rise to even more speculation. What the f is going on here? And KSI has said nothing. Zero. Misfits has said nothing. Zero. DAZN has said nothing. Zero. One person that did give an update, I guess, on this whole thing is one of the other opponents. And Slim, it was crazy because AT was saying the fight is on, and Slim is like, no, it's not, because he said KSI is backing out of the fight. I knew he didn't have the balls to step in with me after calling me a bitch last year. We know who really is one. Whoa, venom on that tweet. Now, again, that was the first indication that KSI is not taking this fight. And again, I don't know if Slim knows or how much Slim knows, but he is. I do know how much Slim knows. That man got a snocker on him. But so do I, so I can smell what he's cooking here. I tend to believe him because he is at least one half of that main event. Anthony Taylor did delete the repealing and denouncing of the accusations of KSI not being in this fight anymore. So those two things I present as evidence alongside with KSI deleting all mentions and graphics of the fight. Misfits now apparently doing the same. That's what we call context clues, ladies and gentlemen. In other words, these things as individuals may not mean anything, but all put together, they start to add to one conclusion. And let's not forget, when KSI and Alex Wasabi fell through and Alex got injured, he deleted all mentions of that. Same thing happened, I'm pretty sure, with the Dylan Dennis fight. So this is a pattern that KSI has when he is not doing a fight or something goes through. And by the way, if this is the case, awesome, right? Great, because I didn't want to see a 2-on-1 anyway and no one else did. But there is a big issue here that we have to talk about, and that is August 31st, the 3 Arena in Dublin, Ireland. I'm pretty sure they already sold it out. And they sold it out for one reason and one reason only, and that is KSI. So the question is KSI still fighting? And Slim, by the way, also said in another tweet, again, doubling down on this whole thing, KSI has officially ducked Slim. What a bitch. He even asked him to fight at 180. Slim said, sure. Now KSI has gone missing. Pathetic. Again, I don't know. He quote tweeted the thing that KSI tweeted about him when it came to the Salt Poppy fight. Fair play. That is good promotion for a fight that I would have at this point been okay with, but I guess that fight's not happening. So where does that leave us? That leaves us at a no man's land, essentially. Like, I have no idea what is going on right now. I mean, the only thing I do, I can't even say I know, but I'm like, fuck, I don't know, 80 to 90% sure of is that I think KSI is not going to be fighting Slim and Anthony Taylor. Does that mean that Slim and Anthony Taylor are off the card? Does that mean they're fighting on an undercard position? Like, is this card even happening? Is KSI going to remain on this card? Again, they sold it out. Now, before I get into things that are good potentially about this, let me just say right away, if KSI did pull out of this, which I do think at this point he did. It's kind of a shitty move at this point to do it because you've promised AT and Slim main event spots if you're Misfits, and for JJ to pull out of it, not saying this is the only reason because we're going to go into a lot of different scenarios, but if the reason was because he just didn't feel like fighting these two all of a sudden and wants a bigger and better name, that's kind of bullshit. Like, you should stand on your word if you're going to fight these two. That's what you and your team have come up with, the 2v1, whatever. As much as it's corny to me, and I just don't think it makes much sense to do for a star like JJ, and yes, he does deserve to fight bigger names, which again, we'll get into in a second. I just think doing it this close to the card, a month away after you've already announced it, sold tickets for it, it's kind of it does not a good look. For Misfits, for KSI, for any of them, it does come off a little bit disingenuous and selfish, I guess. I don't know. That just doesn't feel right to me. You wouldn't see that in any other scenario, a fighter just pulling out because he wanted to fight somebody else. So let's look at the options here. Number one, and the most hopeful, and I am praying that this is the case, they just saw that a 2v1 match was something no one wanted to see and made no sense from the beginning, and just decided to reshuffle this card and, I don't know, keep Slim on the card in some fashion, keep AT on the card in some fashion, but give KSI a new main event opponent. Like, if it is potentially KSI going, you know what, give me Darren Till, because he's now a free agent. He's not with the UFC. He's boxing now, even though he did that weird social KO thing. I don't know why he decided to do that. And then the guy laid down on the mat like he was dead and then popped up and tried to single leg take him down. It was very odd. But the point is, Darren Till would be a great fight, I think, for JJ. He's 185 pounds natural. He's a southpaw, left-hander, good legitimate skill in his hands. He's a good Muay Thai fighter. Boxing, a little bit different, but still a good test. And also, I don't think it's a coincidence that just today, or at least maybe yesterday at this point, Darren Till was on Michael Bisping's podcast talking about potential big fights he had in the future and just happened to mention the name KSI. Okay, I'd say it's a little premature, 4 weeks to get ready for Darren Till. I don't know what kind of shape he's in. I know he just had the fight, so he's probably in pretty decent shape. Tough fight, in my opinion, for KSI. Darren Till's a monster, an actual 85er as well. So that's a fun fight, though, and I respect the hell out of it if they go that route. And that is, again, the best case scenario. That's something that I would enjoy. I think you guys would enjoy. I think the entirety of not only influencer boxing, but Ireland would show up big time for that. And we get a lot of views from the UK. That is a home run fight, and it should have probably been the fight since Darren Till was already a free agent. That matchup, the more I think about it, the more sense it makes. So that would be the best case scenario. Another potential thing here is that this is all just a big work and that they're going to continue with this 2v1 and they're just trying to generate some hype before they inevitably pull the haha gotcha, we're still doing the fight, we just needed to remind y'all that this is going on. I don't know. That would seem silly to me, for them to go and delete all their stuff and have Slim come out and essentially go bad on the entire thing and say it's not happening. That's not really a great way to promote things. And the last case scenario, which I hope is not the case, because this is probably the worst case scenario for this fight, is that someone is injured, and that someone most likely, because Slim and AT are talking about the fight pretty openly. AT deleted his stuff, but he was talking about the fight pretty openly, saying it was still happening. Slim saying KSI is ducking him. The only other thing I can imagine, and honestly, it kind of would make sense as to why they're being so quiet, KSI potentially being injured. Maybe rushed back into training too quickly, or, pushed a little too quick, too hard, because he maybe wasn't taking training as seriously as he should have been, or, building back to training the proper way and just jumped back in and thought, I'm just going to pick this up, and hurt himself doing that. I mean, that's tendonitis, tendinosis, sprains, strains, and tears can happen that way. I don't actually know if that's the case, but I'm just thinking in my head, we're 4 weeks out. I saw the Sidemen clip where they said that, or we're kind of joking with him, like, you're not taking training seriously. Maybe there was a little truth to it, and then JJ kind of realized, maybe seeing Slim training as hard as he was, and Anthony Taylor was probably training hard as well, that he had to take this a little more seriously, and maybe pushed a little too hard and got injured. Again, that's conspiracy theory, Wade. That would be the worst case scenario, though, and the reason I'm throwing it out is because then those fans don't get to see JJ at all. Like, that entire card is if JJ can't fight. That's what those people bought tickets for. They sold out, 12,000, 13,000, 14,000. that would be terrible. And again, it's a part of the fight game. I understand that, but people are missing out on paydays. People are missing out on ring activity. Slim and A.T. are missing out on their opportunity. As much as I don't like the 2v1, I do hate that this is something that A.T. and Slim were promised and now potentially is being taken away from them. I wouldn't have advocated that in the first place. I don't think that was something that should have been even remotely thought about, a 2v1 thing. But now that it was essentially there and contracts were signed and potentially and allegedly, and I'm going to go ahead and start to assume is the truth, that this thing is not happening and KSI is pulling out of it, that really sucks for those two guys, because that was their opportunity to do something that they'd never done and could potentially put their star on a new level. And the same for everybody else that was going to be on the undercard. Again, I don't know if this card is falling through. I don't know. I'm not here to say that. I'm just saying, it seems to me that it's pretty clear at this point that KSI is pulling out of the 2v1. That could mean very, very good things. Opponent replacement, card gets shuffled, we get a banger of a card. That could mean I'm getting worked, and this is going on the way it always has, and we get a pretty decent card, and again, the main event is the main event. Or it could mean complete catastrophe, and KSI pulls out of the entire event, leaving Mams and everybody else to pick up the pieces, which is never a great thing and seems to be the curse of Misfits at this point. Pull out 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week before the fight. But that's where we're at. So I'll ask you guys, what is going on over on Misfits right now? Because I think I have the answers. KSI, for sure, in my opinion, not fighting the 2-on-1. Again, context clues provided. But I don't know what happens next. Could be good, could be relatively the same, or could be terrible. I don't have those answers. You guys let me know in the comments. And on August 31st, do we get a better matchup for KSI? Do we get Darren Till on short notice? Fucking injected into my veins. That fight would fuck hard. Do we still get the 2v1 and are getting worked, brother, like a WWE storyline? Or is KSI pulling out of the entire event? Don't have those answers, but guess we'll find out.